Hey guys, how's it going? Nazar here. You are watching my new series, uh, Nostalgic Trips, as I am careful not to trip over here. But yeah, this is number 3, guys. It is Thursday. Actually went to the flea market this morning. Made a video, believe it or not. It's a short one. Shorty but a goodie. Stick around for that. That's probably going to be flea market days number, what was it, 192 or 193. So check that out. I am, like I said before, I am trying to reach up to 200 videos, so I am getting close to finishing that whole playlist and finishing making flea market videos. But what we are here today to do on Nostalgic Trips is keep walking on this train track. And I think I heard a train horn, so I'm hoping that we will actually get to see a train again. But anyway, today's topic. Why do you collect? You ever think about that? Like, whatever you do collect, why? Is it nostalgia? Is it to resell, you know, to kind of collect enough so that you can hold it for a while and then sell it? Is it both? I gotta keep an eye out for that train and murderers. You know how it goes on train tracks. But anyway, yeah, I'm really curious about that. I've thought about that a lot of times, or I should say quite often. Yeah, that's probably not good. Scrap metal. But yeah, I've definitely asked myself that quite a bit right before I started selling most of my collection off. Let's see. Personally, good thing I'm walking. Today's goal is to pass three miles, of course. But anyway, so I've been collecting my entire life. As a kid, growing up in Ukraine, a country that was occupied by the USSR pretty much since I was a child, until 1991 when the Soviet Union broke apart and Ukraine became independent again. And unfortunately these days, Russia is invading Ukraine. They took Crimea, and the whole east is being under attack by Russians. But that's not what we're talking about. I had to say those things because so you kind of get a more of a picture. I am Ukrainian, not Russian in any way, and I'm not even rushing. I'm just on the train track. I might have to rush if there's a train coming. There's nothing wrong with Russians. There's a lot wrong with closed-minded Putin followers who live in their weird nostalgia, which, as you can tell now, ties into the whole thing. That whole war with Russia, or Russia causing wars with other countries, is because Putin's nostalgic about his youth, about the old Tsar days, and, you know, all that bullshit. I'm gonna stop talking about Russia. So, as a little kid, I was born in 1980. So, even though I was an 80s child, I didn't really get to experience the pop culture that you guys had in America or in any other free country in that time period. So, my dad was always a businessman, a freelance businessman, and he was an art curator and all sorts of things. I always looked up to that guy, which is why I sold a lot. I was at the flea market selling things because that's how I grew up, watching him. But yeah, тато, якщо дивишся, я про тебе говорю. But anyway, so yeah, whenever he would go on business trips, he would go to like Amsterdam or other countries. He went to Africa. I don't even remember. I was just a kid. But he would always bring me like little cars, little die-cast scale model cars from different countries. or Hot Wheels, stuff like that. So every time he came back, I would add to my collection with these awesome toys from other countries. Now, I didn't get a lot of toys, don't get me wrong. I was never spoiled by toys. Always had to use imagination. You know, play in the sandbox. I didn't have play sets or anything. But I always had like a nice little collection of toy cars, which I loved. So that was really cool. So that's how I started my collecting, just as a kid who has toys, you know? But I was the one that saved them. And I love to trade sometimes with my friends. And then like the bubblegum thing came into play. Turbo, Donald, those of you who are Ukrainian or Russian or Polish who grew up in those countries and those in the 80s, you know exactly what I mean. Or early 90s. I left Ukraine in 91. We went to Canada. That's when I really started to absorb pop culture, because in Soviet Russia, pop culture's you. So yeah, there wasn't too many amazing toys. But I think in like the mid 80s, we started to get cable television, and that's when I was introduced to RoboCop, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like the movies, Police Academy, Terminator, all those amazing films. I can keep going and going, but watching that stuff really made me like, you know, I was like, oh my god, this is amazing and beautiful, and the imagination and all that stuff. I was blown away. Come on, train, when you coming? Viewers want to see a train, dang it. But anyway, okay, so that's basically how pop culture got into my life, is when the Soviet Union started to break apart and Ukraine started to get more and more open to, you know, American pop culture. Like, I remember as a kid, people would smuggle like Levi's jeans from America, or like rock and roll vinyls. A lot of that stuff was illegal, believe it or not, but I was too young to understand any of that. It was fun seeing what my dad was able to get. But anyway, he was always a fan of Beatles, so I was lucky enough to hear some of that growing up, as some of my friends definitely didn't even get a chance to hear those beautiful melodies. Whew, let me catch my breath real quick. Be right back, like instant. Alright, we're back. Alright, so good thing I took a little break there, because I wanted to tell you my nostalgia didn't just start there. As a really little kid, like, you know, from my birth to when I became cognitive and I was able to watch cartoons, Lviv, which is on the west side of Ukraine, which borders Poland.
Halfway point reached.
I need to turn her off. I am exercising, sorry guys. But anyway, so when we would go to Lviv every summer, spend summer months there, we would get TV reception from Poland, and that's how I discovered the Smurfs. And I learned Polish by watching Smurfs and stuff like that, which is amazing. If you have children, young children, you want them to learn other languages, just play them cartoons from other countries, and they'll pick up the language without going to class. Tip of the day. That's how I learned that. I learned Polish by watching TV. I learned Russian by leaving the house. And Ukrainian is, you know, my country, and my family and everyone spoke Ukrainian, so that's my language. And I learned English by moving to Canada and America. Boom! Anyway, so yeah, what was it? I watched Smurfs, Care Bears, a bunch of different cartoons like that. So yeah, Mighty Mouse, all sorts of things. Bugs Bunny, Tom and Jerry, amazing stuff. So that's how my nostalgia grew before I turned 11 and ended up in Canada. So hopefully you understand why I would collect all those things when I left Ukraine and started living in Canada, because I finally had access to those toys. I finally could buy those VHS tapes and watch them at home. I could have a VHS player to watch those things on. I mean, in Ukraine, you couldn't buy any of that. It was either prohibited, or like a VHS player would be an insane amount of money, which people would rather eat than buy that shit. So, anyway, oh man, it was great. So, I figured that, as I always do, let you guys enjoy a little bit of my surroundings and not just my crazy face. I did get a little bit of a beard trim for you guys. But anyway, here's what I'm looking at as I'm walking and talking to you guys. I love these train tracks. I'm actually approaching the bridge that I was at yesterday, where I made Nostalgic Trips #2. Check that out if you want to know more about why I quit the flea market and why I stopped making videos at the flea market, or why I'm stopping making them anyway. But anywho, and my quest to stop saying anywho. That needs to stop. So, continuing on. What we're talking about here is, why do you collect? I want to know. You can either leave it in the comments or whatever. Make a video, tag me in it. But all I can do in my video is tell you why I collect. And I still collect. I never quit collecting. Still doing it. Just, I'm not collecting just to collect. I'm collecting for nostalgia. Hence why I'm telling you how my nostalgia was built and where it comes from. Mostly Ukraine and moving and memories to the old days. Because as we all get older, those of you that are watching, most of my demographic are people who are like my age or older, you know, so you guys can probably relate to my thoughts, you know.
Workout resumed.
So I just turned 40 the other day, so just to remind you all. So yeah. Ooh, a hole. Hope no one jumped out of there. Check that out. That's awesome.
Workout pause.
I love this bridge. Again, nostalgia, as I mentioned before. This bridge is very nostalgic to me. Used to hang out here with my friends in high school. I'm currently in Northeast Philadelphia. So, just wanted to remind you guys that, or if you're new to this channel, this is your first video. Okay, moving on. Hold on a sec. Okay. So, when we moved to Canada in the early 90s, that was a good move for me, because at that age you're extremely impressionable, and I will do a whole video about this topic, but one of the main reasons why we left Ukraine is because Chernobyl happened. I'm sure some of you know or heard of what Chernobyl is. It's a city in Ukraine that during the USSR, they basically, due to negligence and extreme stupidity, due to the Russian Soviet regime, it exploded. People died, horrible deaths of radiation, and then mutant children were born. All sorts of crazy health complications. It was horrible. There's a show right now called Chernobyl. Check it out if you want to learn more about it. That's not what I'm talking about today, but hopefully it'll give you more of a window on who I am and my nostalgia and what kind of hell I came from. So anyway, continuing on. In Canada, I didn't speak English that well. I learned slowly by hanging out with friends. I knew a little bit of English that I studied in Ukraine, but obviously it wasn't enough. It was enough to like kind of talk, but you know, whatever. So as I'm in Canada with my two sisters and my parents, I was into like remote control cars. I started to heavily watch television because in Ukraine, or I should say Soviet Russia at the time, we had 3 channels. 3 cartoons would come on at a certain time of the day, and everything else was regulated, and there really wasn't much you could watch. None of it was coming from like America or anything. So unfortunately there wasn't much to watch until that cable thing came in. But once we moved to Canada, man, Power Rangers started happening. I'm very nostalgic about that because we could never afford any of the toys. I'm not even talking Megazords. I couldn't afford like figures. I think I had like some stickers. But yeah, Ninja Turtles, I watched those cartoons. I was actually able to afford a couple of things because there was so much crap. But yeah, Ninja Turtles, I was watching that. That's when Star Trek. I would watch The Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, and then Voyager. Love me some Star Trek. Star Wars, I only watched like here and there. I did come from Ukraine in love with ninja movies, by the way. So in Russia, it's so USSR. It was in Ukraine, but you know, USSR. They did play some movies, like ninja movies or whatever from America, and they would, when cable came, and they were dubbed in Russian. So that was a mosquito. Hope you didn't give me the coronavirus. Fuck. Well, that would suck. I just documented getting corona. Wish it was a beer. Anyway, hope that fucker didn't penetrate my wrist. I hope I killed him. Sorry guys, there's a lot to worry about these days when you get a bite from a mosquito. Anyway. Okay, so you don't have to watch my worried face. So yeah, I love ninjas, all those ninja movies, American Ninja, just a ton of old kung fu movies. Then I got into like samurai stuff. All that happened before we even left Ukraine, so I just forgot to mention that. So I was really in love with movies, hence why I later went to Savannah College of Art and Design and majored in film and minored in sculpture. But anyway, enough of that. So my nostalgia and collecting reasons. As you can tell, I'm babbling like a mofo. But that's what these walks and talks are all about, aren't they? Okay, I'm gonna go to that couch and then turn around. So anywho, stop saying anywho, Naz! Jeez! Okay.
2 miles completed. Remaining distance 1 mile.
Ooh, 1 mile to go.
Duration 37 minutes
around.
35
There's
seconds.
no need to
Current speed 2.7
destroy
miles
myself.
per hour.
I'm
Average
still
speed
working on
3.2
fixing that,
miles per
guys.
hour.
I tried to mute her, but I couldn't
Estimated
figure it
total
out.
time,
So
56 minutes,
I'll work on that
22
later on
seconds.
tonight. Okay, so as I said, Star Trek, blah blah blah, a little bit of Star Wars here and there. I was never a huge fanatic of Star Wars. I always liked it, but never really cared to get any toys or anything like that. So I never really had too many toys. I was into cars. I collected car models and some toys here and there. I just really enjoyed watching cartoons and movies. That was enough for me. So that's why when I moved to Canada and then America, I started collecting those things because I all of a sudden became nostalgic for that stuff. It started to remind me of those days when I discovered those things, and you know, it was nice to have like a toy to remind me of that feeling. And that's awesome, you know? I am gonna try to curse less. I don't curse much in real life. But this tells the algorithm that this video is not meant for kids. Anyway, I didn't say anywho. I'm making progress, fellas. Alright, so I am now in Canada, middle school, all that good stuff. I did grow up being bullied because I was a foreigner. Was bullied, learned to fight because of that. Haven't fought since high school. Haven't thrown a single punch at anyone. I have defended myself before, but I don't fight. But I will destroy your life if you fuck with me. Yeah. So anyway, any hoozles. As I was saying, guys, so that's what went down in Canada. I was still watching TV heavily. I was one of those kids that came home from school and just consumed television. I guess that's a big thing that has to do with nostalgia and all that good stuff. Moving on. A lot of stuff happened. I can't tell you guys my whole autobiography, but once we left Canada and started living in good old USA, man, it was a whole different beast. I remember moving from Canada, which is clean, everybody's nice, which is a huge contrast, drastically difference from Russia or USSR, where everyone's oppressed and not allowed to say anything, and if you're gay, you're gonna go to prison, and if you're black, you're gonna go to prison. Like, USSR was no joke, guys. Anything that's against what some one asshole's rules are, you will go to prison. So, oh yeah, religion, you would go to prison. You are not allowed to go to church. In fact, my parents had to get married in church in cover of darkness and secret. And believe it or not, they risked being locked up or sent to Siberia just because they wanted to get married in a church. So, truth, son. But anyway, collecting, huh? You guys are enjoying this bullshit. Anyway, so collecting and nostalgia, moving on. I am now in America. I am, what was I? Yeah, I was a teenager. Started getting jobs, started meeting more people, started meeting, girls and stuff. Not too many. I was never a whore. I'm one of those guys that always looked for love and stuff, so never abused anyone or used anyone. So it's how I roll and always have. So, next. Oh, it's a little baby deer. Holy majoli. I hope we get to see it. I'm gonna stop talking for a second. Maybe I can sneak up on it, guys. Okay, guys, I'm trying to sneak up on those deer. Hopefully their mom won't, destroy me and kick me off this bridge. Still hoping for that train. If this footage is found, I'm sorry. I love everyone. I hope the Blair Witch isn't around. So, I'm hearing sounds. Nah, it's just regular human sounds. Where'd those deer go? I want to find them. Or I'm gonna be quiet. Looney Tunes, Tiny Toons, Animaniacs. Saturday morning cartoons, DuckTales, Chip and Dale, Tailspin. I watched all of that. Aw, I don't know where they went. Clever little deer.
Workout paused.
They were really tiny too. They're like the size of dogs. Alright, so I'm gonna take a tiny little break from walking. So basically, I mean, that's, like the cartoons I watched, as we all did as kids, just sitting there with our cereal, watching Saturday morning cartoons and just eating it all up. I loved it all, and that's why I collect, man. All those experiences that I had right up until I hit high school, that's nostalgia. That's why I collected things. And I had a lot of things. I had a lot of VHS tapes. I had a lot of toys, video games. My first console was Sega Genesis. When we first came from Ukraine, I had a pen pal, and we went to visit him. While I lived in Ukraine, I had a pen pal that lived in Chicago. And what we did was... when we moved to Canada, we first went to Chicago, met up with them, and they had like a trampoline, Sega Genesis, Nintendo, all sorts of things. Like, to me, I was like, holy crap, this is awesome. You know how like the family is in E.T.? Like the way their house is, what they do, the way their kitchen is. Like, that was like instilled in my mind as the most amazing thing, and their house was just like that. And that like really blew my mind, you know. I was like, wow, America is the way it is in movies. Yeah, I never went to Hell's Kitchen in New York in the freaking early 90s. That's America. But that's something I learned later on in life, and don't have much nostalgia for that. That's more negative than anything. So, to elaborate on my video game nostalgia, the first game I played when I came to America, I was 11 years old. It was Revenge of Shinobi. I love that game. I love Revenge of Shinobi. I love the music. I love the way the game looks. And it holds up to this day, you know? It still looks amazing. Revenge of Shinobi. I played that. We went to these people's house. I didn't even care about this kid anymore. I just played freaking Genesis, man. I was like, Revenge of Shinobi, motherfucker! Stop talking to me! So, yeah, that was cool. But yeah, then when we moved back to Canada, I had friends that lived downstairs. Mind you, I didn't have these consoles in middle school in the early 90s. They had a NES, so that's where I, you know, really got into Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt and everything that Nintendo NES had to offer. And then, you know, I moved on, you know, as consoles came out. You know, N64 was my first console that I purchased. I bought an N64. I loved Killer Instinct. I love Mario 64. Wave Race. I love that game. Anyway, so all these things built up nostalgia because of those memories that I had, and all that stuff. When I was buying it, I would never sell things. Like the only time I sold stuff was my N64 when I bought my PlayStation 1, and I do regret that. But I recouped all that later, and when we moved to America and it was time to go to college, I sold everything to pay for some of the college. So video games, toys, all kinds of things. I did save some things that really meant a lot to me, which is the key. Whenever you guys are trying to downsize or get rid of your collection, make sure you save those things that you had the longest, that give you those feelies, you know? Something that you look at and you're like, man, I had this when I was freaking 9 years old, you know, like I held this exact item. Those are the things that I think people should hold on to. Not if everything you own is when you were 9 and you held everything, but like one or two things, hold on to that. It's nice to sometimes pick it up and enjoy it, you know? What is going on? I'm getting a bunch of messages. Hold on a second, guys. What is this? Anywho, so everything was sold. Most of the stuff was sold. I went to college. I went to Savannah. I didn't sell stuff when I went to my first college here in this area, Manor College. I sold everything when I went to Savannah College of Art and Design, SCAD, which is in Savannah, Georgia, which is down south, 12 hours drive from Philadelphia. I sold pretty much everything. When I came back from college, I didn't have anything, and that's when nostalgia hit me. That's when I was like, holy shit, because I don't know, those of you that went to college and you experienced the college life, you didn't just go there to study and freaking take classes. I actually learned so much from just going to college, not the classes. I learned so much from becoming friends with the professors and just from our conversations. Like, college wasn't hard for me, not film school anyway. Like, I knew pretty much everything except like some of the technical things, you know, the f-stops, the apertures, all that. I learned that in college. But before, all the other stuff, the artistic stuff that film requires, I had that. And I still do. And I'm going to explore that in the future because I am nostalgic about making movies again. So it's coming back. A lot of stuff's coming back. So that's why I'm letting go of flea market stuff. But anyway, this video is about collecting and nostalgia. So, yeah. And on that note, I'm gonna get up and keep walking. Resume workout.
Workout resumed.
Thanks, robot. See, I don't have to resist her. I'm just gonna join her. She's like my little Star Trek computer. I'm still hoping for that train. I need to take a look at the schedule so that I can give you guys some good eye candy with that. But anywho, okay, anywho, I said it. It's a drinking game when you watch nostalgic trips. Every time I say anywho, you take a shot. I guarantee you in an hour you'll be trashed. So anywho, anyhoozles, I'm gonna keep walking and talking. So if you're enjoying this, thank you. And don't forget to, in the comments below, tell me at least a part of your story. You know, tell me why you collect stuff. Do you collect stuff to resell it? Do you collect stuff for nostalgia purposes? Which is, to answer my question, I collect for nostalgia purposes. Now, I did lose my way for the past 7 years. I started collecting again when I came back from college. That's how that all ties up together. Came back from college, I started getting hit with nostalgia. I started going to flea markets and yard sales and realizing how cheap everything was. So I just started buying and buying and buying. I had bins of stuff, guys. By like, not even too far away, about 2 years ago, my basement was filled with bins. I pretty much had every Megazord from Power Rangers, from every season that was released in America. I even had a couple things from Japan, which, you know, anyway, it was crazy. I had Turtles stuff, I had Ghostbusters stuff, toys from everything, vintage toys, all that stuff. I never collected Motu, Masters of the Universe, I never collected Star Wars. None of that stuff ever captured me that much as a kid, or I just never was home for those shows to be played. And in the 80s, remember, I was in USSR, so they never played cartoons there like that. So anyway, there's a whole political thing about that I can go into, but I won't. So anyway, I had all this stuff, all these bins and bins of toys. And my collection in my room was just everywhere. And, you know, after all those years of going to flea markets, and I would go and sell things at the flea market, and then I would instantly buy stuff, more stuff. And it was easy because at the time it wasn't that popular to collect things. So for me it was just fun. Like, I wasn't even, you know, I wasn't reselling to make money. I was just reselling to keep finding more things. So I don't even know what that is. I just enjoyed collecting for the hunt of it. I enjoyed going out. Either it was with my dad or with my friends, or a lot of times I would go by myself. I really enjoyed hunting and finding things, not in stores, but at flea markets and yard sales in particular. And that's something I love doing since Canada. My dad loved thrift stores and garage sales, so we did a lot of that. So, you know what, I'm gonna go back the way I went back yesterday. It's all downhill from here, so got nothing to worry about. Anyway, it's so much easier to walk on grass, not on freaking gravel. Yeah, it looks like we're not gonna get any train action today, guys. I'm sorry. So, cool. Okay, sorry guys, I had to take a little pee break. I don't think you would appreciate watching that part. So, danger, high voltage. Yeah, I'm gonna stay away from that.
Workout paused.
Your mom's paused. Oh! Anyway, resume. Computer, resume.
Workout resumed.
Captain! Oh man, Ace Ventura. All that stuff. Okay. So there, as you can tell, there's a lot of nostalgia within me. I've been raised by pop culture. And I'm only talking about that. I'm not even talking about my national pride for Ukraine, my pride for history of Ukraine, and just the nationality and the whole bullshit with Russia. That's a whole other thing, a whole other channel I can start talking about that stuff. Okay, guys. So next thing, where were we? We're already in America. I came back from college, and I started getting hit with nostalgia and buying stuff again and collecting. And then I got way too much crap. So I met Maggie not too long after I came back from college, a couple of years. And at this time, I wasn't collecting much anymore. Everything I've collected was sitting in my basement or just on my shelves. I still went to the markets here and there to hunt for stuff, but I really didn't have much passion for it because I had a lot of crap. It didn't really matter, you know? So I started making art. Started making 3D collage art. And just for myself, I was like, I'm gonna make this Spawn thing. And took that to the flea market. Someone fell in love with it and gave me, I believe, 60 bucks for it. Well, that's just gross and disturbing. No. Okay. It's like a neighborhood area. I don't think I'll be able to cross back. Okay, I'm gonna go back where I came from. Okay, guys, so that really threw me off there. So this is when my art career really took off. I started making more and more 3D collages. My best friend Chris found me a gallery downtown Philly. It was called Absolute Abstract. They're not around anymore. They sold their space and moved to Singapore or something. I don't know what happened to them, but it was sad because for like 2 years,
Almost there.
my art was being sold. Like every month, I would bring them like 5 pieces of various sizes, and then at the end of the month, I would get a nice check for a couple of G's. You know, $1,000. So yeah, I've sold one piece. It was Walking Dead when that show just started. 2,000 bucks. And the people were amazed. They loved it. The girl that bought it for her boyfriend or husband said that he teared up when he got it. It took me about a month to make it. Like, these aren't child collages. Check out my view list. I have my 3D collage view list. There's a couple of things you can check out on there, what they look like. Or go to my Naztalgic_art and check out some of my art there, if you're interested. If not, totally cool. You can keep watching me babble in the middle of nowhere here. So yeah, so art took over my life, and currently I'm back at it. I'm making art again, setting up website with my friend Chris again, and we're rocking it, man. Working on doing all that and making it happen. Hopefully by spring it'll all be up and running, but for now I'm just making a ton of art to have stuff to sell, making inventory. So as far as nostalgia and collecting, this last year, get ready kids, this is what this whole talk was about. What happened to my collection that I've accumulated after college. Man, did I have amazing stuff. Oh man, there's a dude back there. He's just like a, I guess, homeless guy. Cleaning his dishes, which is cool. Here, check this out. I'm back at the creek, guys. You always have to stop and enjoy this. Alright, cross this thing. Ow. Cool.
Workout resumed.
So, alright, let me continue. I just didn't want to, like, talk about my collecting next to someone who's living in the park. Okay. So, the story continues like this. All those things that I've collected after college, I was quite proud of it. But I started to kind of remember that, like, I don't know how to explain it, but I was collecting for nostalgia reasons at first. Then I was collecting for the hunt of it, which was awesome because, you know, I enjoyed going out there and finding things for super cheap. And then, like, collecting became a thing on YouTube. Hence, I started YouTube. I don't remember what year it was, maybe 2008, something like that. So yeah, Game Chasers, all those guys. Then Toy Chasers. But I stopped getting a good feeling from those things, and I started to get overwhelmed by the amount of crap I had. And yeah, I still had like things I like here and there that I kept in my office. I ended up using a lot of toys in my art, in my 3D collages, which were being sold. But okay, I don't know how to. Oh yeah, I need to go this way. There's a bunch of crap here because people don't want people walking back here. Definitely not going to be walking around here when it gets much warmer, because there's snakes and spiders and rhinos. Oh my. Ooh, chocolate pebbles. Nom nom nom. But anyway, that dude that's living out there by himself, camping by the creek or whatever,
Workout resumed.
I really respect that. Because he didn't look like he was on hardship. It kind of looked like it was by choice. But that's a whole separate thing. I'm recently really getting into philosophy and minimalism. I'm not a minimalist, but very inspired by it. And that's what kind of helped me recently to get rid of the rest of my stuff. But I started... Hold on, let me sit down.
Workout resumed.
Yeah, I had to get off the log. I hope the ticks aren't up yet, and I hope they're not all up my ass, because that would not be good. Maggie, can you pick these ticks out of my ass?
Workout resumed.
Oh man, remember the tick? I used to watch that cartoon too. And that's how nostalgia works. You remember things, and then you're like, oh, I remember that. What? Oh, I want that feeling. You end up going somewhere and buying the toys or the comic books, and you know, it kind of satisfies you for a little bit, but dude, the memory of that is enough. Just remember how you felt when you watched it. Remember yourself as a kid, you know? And that's what I've recently learned, that's enough for me. But if I somehow see a really high quality figure of the tick somewhere, and it's $2, I'm gonna buy it. I might resell it later, but I'm not gonna go out of my way and buy really expensive things just to satisfy my childhood memories. I'm back to civilization. And we moved back to Northeast Philly, and this is where we live now. So I'm very happy that I live here, and I love this park, and this whole area is awesome. So so basically what's happening after that is once I moved back, and I've moved a lot in the span of 3 years, and I noticed how much crap I have. And when I moved back to this Philly house, I remembered that the basement was still filled with shit that I had, and I'm like, why is all this crap here? So I slowly started selling it. I started like trading with my friends, you know, making sure that they got the nicer stuff. Again, I wasn't like selling stuff to make money either. I was just selling stuff to get rid of it. I was done with it. So I was just, you know, whatever, man. So a lot of people were kind of like, you know, oh man, you know, don't give that to me, sell it, make money. I'm like, I'm aware what I can make with this. It's not about the money. It's definitely not about the money. I just wanted to get rid of it, and I wanted to help my friends out if they wanted stuff. So that's where I was with that. So slowly but surely I was getting rid of everything, and then I ended up with just stuff in my office. And the stuff in my office was a lot. If you take a look at some of my older videos, you can go to my art studio even from a few months ago, You can still see a lot of my collection there. Most of that's gone. I still have quite a bit, don't get me wrong, a lot of it's still Power Rangers, but my whole motto now is, yes, I have nostalgia for this stuff, but most of it doesn't have to be vintage, because I never owned these toys as a child. I watched these shows and movies and stuff like that, so it's not important to me that it's vintage, even though some things are. I have some vintage toys. I love all toys, don't get me wrong, I love all toys. Vintage especially, they're really beautiful, very well crafted and designed. But I don't need an original Megazord, which I've had over 20 of in my collecting career. I don't need all that. Today I actually traded a piece of my art for Soul of Shogoken Megazord with my friend Leland. My piece was worth a little bit more than what the Shogoken goes for, but a lot of my pieces are not cheap. He loved it. I'm super happy with the trade, and I'm actually gonna make him another piece for free because he's a really good friend of mine and he actually likes my art. So I've also made him a really cool custom Battle Beast Dragon Zord. Check out those videos or my Instagram again, Naztalgic_art, if you want to see any of the stuff I'm talking about. If you want to see any of the stuff I collect, go to Naztalgic_TV, and you'll see, if you keep scrolling down, you'll see all the stuff I had in my collection. If you really want to see what I had, go to Google and hashtag Nostalgic Collection. Naztalgic, just like this channel with a Z, and you'll see everything that I've hashtagged over the years that's passed through my collection. So there's a lot. So the point is with this is I've got rid of everything, and now I'm still collecting because it is a part of me. I love collecting. I love getting, some things. I'm very aware that possessions don't matter, and all of this stuff I can sell right away if I need the money for something or whatever. But none of it is like idols. I don't worship any of this crap. It's just stuff, and I've given a lot of toys away at flea markets to kids because they're like, oh my god, look at, like they were so moved by the toy, and their dad's like, I can't afford that. I just gave it to the kid. I'm like, dude, take that, enjoy it. Sometimes parents train their kids to hustle for them and pretend that way. I've learned those ways as well. I don't buy that shit. I can see people trying to hustle me from a mile away. That's not a challenge, by the way. But any hoozles, drink. As you can tell, we're getting to the end of this and to the end of my collecting story. Yeah. So that's the reason why I collect, is nostalgia. I never collected to resell, even though I respect that. I see the point in it. A lot of my friends do it. They sell on eBay or they sell at the flea market, and they'll go hunt and buy stuff at yard sales, and they'll do house cleanouts, and then they'll go and resell it on eBay or at the market. And that's cool. Some of them, that's their living. Like, for example, One Man's Junk on YouTube. He's a friend of mine, and he has a YouTube channel. I helped him a little bit to start it in the beginning. So if you go to his channel, you'll see what he does. He goes to markets, he buys stuff, he completes things. He's extremely knowledgeable, and he knows what to buy. And then he completes vintage toys, rare things, and then he goes to toy shows or eBay and sells it. And that's what he does for a living. As far as I know, I'm sure he does other things, but I know that that takes care of his bills. And that's fucking awesome. If you can do that, that's great. I can't do that. That's not what I want to do. I love art, I love filmmaking, and that's what I do. That's what I've always done. I just kind of lost my way with the toys and nostalgia, and trying to like bury some, like, I don't know, depression or anxieties I would collect, and like that short release of endorphins that you get from getting that toy or finding a $50 toy for 50 cents. It fills you with something for a little while, but then like you end up just looking at it and you're like, that's just some colored plastic that was molded, and now I'm admiring it. Whew. All right, so let me recoup here for you guys. I collect and collected for the most part, for nostalgia. These days, now that I'm older, I still collect for nostalgia, but collecting isn't what I do. It's not, like, collecting is like kind of a hobby. Like, sometimes I'll get things, sometimes I'll trade things. I can wait for the right time. I don't need to get on a hype train to get in line to get the Jigglypuff amiibo. You know, I don't need to do that. I did save a couple of amiibos because now I'm nostalgic about those days when I hunted for amiibo. That was awesome. I have my original Kirby and Pikachu amiibo that I got before I got carried away and was like hunting every single amiibo. But yeah, that's the thing. Don't get carried away, man. Just I mean, if you're enjoying the hunt, do it. It's fun. But make sure you don't make your life about that. Make sure your life's not about collecting. Like, I mean, again, who knows? Maybe if that's what makes you happy and your life's about collecting, fucking collect. I don't care. But for me, I don't want that, man. I don't want my life to be about collecting freaking things, you know? I want my life to be about collecting experiences, about collecting friends, reading philosophy, learning about the universe, about thoughts. That's what I want. And I still have a collection, which doesn't define me. It's just stuff that's on the shelf that I can take a look at sometimes and be like, yeah, motherfucking dragon sword, bitch. You know? Whew. So, on that note, everybody, thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you for walking with me while I exercise. I think I did about 4 miles. And I still got about a mile and a half to go through these neighborhoods. Hey, puppy. So yeah, yeah, it was really fun going on this little memory lane. I haven't like thought about all of this before at once, so hopefully I was coherent in my storytelling. Still getting used to it, because before this all I did was go to flea markets and goof around and film shit that's on people's tables. God, I will not miss that. So, I'm still gonna watch those videos that other people make. I definitely am not gonna make them. So, if you want to watch those videos, One Man's Junk, number 1, check that out. Ed's Retro Geek Out, number 2, check that out. Greco Fabulous, number 3, check that out. Let's see. I always forget everyone. That's probably enough. That's probably enough for you guys to watch. I will give more shout outs later. East New York's finest. That was Mike. We used to call him Mr. T Mike, but he lost a bunch of weight and stopped doing his haircut that way. So he's just Mike now. But yeah, he's like an ex-cop, and he does long rants in his videos as well that I enjoy once in a while. So check out East New York's finest. If you can figure out how to type that. I don't know. Maybe I'll leave a link to his channel in my description or something. Check him out. Man, Tokyo Toy Bastard, one of my favorite channels right now. I pretty much watch every video he puts out. If you go to any of these channels, let them know that you heard about them on my channel, just so that I know how many of you actually follow through. If you don't, it doesn't matter. I don't care. I'm just letting you know what channels you can watch if you want to watch flea market videos. But on that note, I'm not going anywhere. There's still 8 more flea market videos I'm gonna make, so hopefully you can enjoy those. And this series, Nostalgic Trips, is gonna keep going strong, and I'm gonna keep telling you different stories and my thoughts about stuff. That's all that this channel, I'm tired. That's all that this playlist is about. But I have a lot of videos on my channel now, so a backlog of toy reviews, flea market videos, trips to Comic-Cons, a bunch of stuff. So check those out. And I'm gonna stop, and I'll see you guys in the next video. I hope you enjoyed this one. Peace and love, live long and prosper. I'm out. Or should I say, Kirk out.